Is
Oh,
somebody going
we're
to be
going
on the?
live. We're going live. Not that you were talking about nothing bad, but we are live. This is a real
I'm
raw
glad we
show.
caught ourselves.
That's right. Oh, I'm Lynn Serrano.
And I'm Brian. Caught myself, Kelm.
We're going to be right back after this. Welcome back. And it's March.
Whoa.
How are you, Brian?
All right.
All right. Busy as usual, right?
Pretty much.
Pretty much. And we are live. So I'm just getting back from a meeting out of town, out at my job, my part-time job. And I'm sure my roommate will be showing up here soon. But again, it's live. We never know what's going to
I
happen.
mean, given in Montana, I mean, across town is like maybe in a different state. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. I've been here almost 30 years come next month, but it has grown a lot in 30 years. I'll tell
It's
you
kind of
that.
like, hey, all right, I should probably get moving to go back home. How far you
Yeah.
got to go? 20 miles.
Yeah. Well, things are usually about 20 minutes for me to go across town. So, that's not bad.
You got to watch out for caribou or grizzly bears.
No, but I do get deer even during the day,
Yeah.
right in my development and stuff. It's funny because I love the topic you picked this morning, thinking time. How much do you allocate daily? And it's funny because I was thinking, we're always thinking, you know, but I guess the better question is, how do you allocate your thinking time that's going to be more beneficial for your day or something, like your schedule or
Well, I thinking time to me is with no intention. Thinking time is not about anything. It's without any understanding of what it's for. Are we always thinking? Sure, we are, but it's like, are we thinking about like just to try to get through our day or week, this project, this meeting, versus like when I think of thinking time, I think of for nothing more than to clear your mind,
like to
and
meditate?
give yourself that space every day, you know. And
Right.
I'm not talking about, and then all of a sudden people will say like excuses and commitments and all that, and I'm like, okay, whether you're a night person or a day person, when do you allocate time for you to just think
Yeah.
about whatever? Journal, a book of ideas, projects you want to do, and just let your mind go. So, like, you give yourself that time. It's kind of like we give so much. Anybody that's up to big things is a giver. We're selfless, right? But how much of that time do we actually give to ourselves where we replenish our supply, like Dr. Stephen Covey talks about, where, everything you look at is like a banking analogy, deposits and withdrawals, right? We're giving so much to other people, but what are we doing ourselves to replenish our supply? And that's where
So,
the thinking time comes in.
yeah, or thinking time, some people might take time for meditation or, creative time or,
Correct.
you know, I guess, we can perceive the topic of thinking time to be all different things, but they are possible because we we spend a lot of time during the day waiting for something, waiting for a
Correct.
meeting, waiting to go pick up this, waiting. We live by a clock. We live by a calendar.
Yep.
So when you say you can't find time, you're not listening to yourself because even when you go potty, if that's your thinking time too, you can
Right.
be thinking and
Well,
finding the
I'm
time.
not I'm not under the mindset of time management. To me, whenever I hear that, I cringe because we can't manage time, but we manage ourselves. So that's self-management, right? Ask anybody. It doesn't matter if you're a great achiever or if you're somebody new to the business world. We can't. I can't. It's 12:03 right now, Central Standard Time. I can't say, okay, time out, pause. And now it's 12:04. But what did I choose to do with that time period? That's all up to me,
Right.
you know.
Right. And
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 so
that's
and so whatever that time is, however you perceive it, whatever the semantical meaning you give it is, what time are you allowing yourself every day to be grounded? It's kind of like exercise, right? You can't get healthy, you can't lose some pounds without actually doing it. Well, to me, there's nothing better in the morning, Now I get off track just like everybody else, but there's nothing better in the morning than wake up before the sun comes up, sit there in peace and quiet, write, journal, do whatever, learn something, read something. And then I wake up and I'm grounded because I enrich myself first. That's what I'm meaning by thinking time. I'm not talking about where you got a project that you got to do because it's for something, right? This is just open time for yourself, for things that plenish your heart and your mind, not things for other people.
Well, even in doing that, whatever time you pick, you still will have thoughts that come up that have nothing to do with you wanting to have a solidarity with yourself
Right.
or let your mind wander to creativity. I mean, we're still always our minds. I forget how many thoughts we have a day, 62,000 or so. I
Right.
forget what it is, but
Mhm.
it's the being purposeful with whatever time you have. And it really is like they say, having that mindful thinking time before you go to bed is great because you get answers and visions and things like that you can get while you're sleeping or
Mhm.
calmness, or you can do it in the morning. But you always have some time in the morning. You can set that alarm and get up when that alarm wakes up, to wake up then. Or so there's ways either at the beginning of your day or the end of the day
Yep.
to do that,
Yep.
you know. So but and to do it on a daily basis is something like any other habit you form. I mean, if you haven't done that for yourself, you should do it because you'd probably be surprised at the fun, creative things that your mind are willing to give you when
Right.
you give your state of mind that way. You really expand your mind to say, that's why like reading books, fiction and nonfiction, but fiction and fantasy and all these different things allows you to go somewhere you normally don't go.
Correct. Well, because you're not putting any pressure on yourself and it's not for anything, right?
Right.
This is just completely like, okay, it amazes me about how many people don't do this, where obviously I'm a creative, you're a creative, where you write down a book of ideas, like things that you never would perceive as being possible or that can't happen. That's what a lot of famous pioneers have said too, but they did
Mhm.
it anyway.
Yep.
Edison, 10,000 times he got the light bulb wrong. Jobs, doubted by everybody from Nokia to BlackBerry.
Mhm.
Tesla, right? Not the car company, but I mean, Nikola Tesla, because obviously Edison was around at the same time and they kind of, even though depending on who you talk to, some people put more accolades on Edison, but then also though Tesla was right there in what
Yeah.
he did. You know what I mean? But he's a lesser known figure, so therefore, you know, depending on who you talk to. But it's like thinking time, you know?
Well, my kids when they get a hold of my notebooks, there's some notebooks that I literally go, "Okay, I'm gonna write whatever comes to mind." And
Yeah,
then I read it later and go, "Damn, that's good. Where the hell did that come from?" Like that's really. And I mean, I definitely write when I do write and get creative in writing. I'm like, "Damn, that's good stuff." I haven't done it often, but I'm getting back in the flow of doing that. And it really is another way of thinking and realizing that you're letting the ego be aside and
right.
just see what comes up. And
Well,
I don't even worry about if I'm spelling it right because that's not the purpose. It's
no,
just flowing out so fast. So it's like, but again, if you try to do something different and put that in your system, it becomes a habit eventually, but it also enriches your thoughts that you're not on the same hamster wheel thinking about what happened 10 years ago. Instead,
correct.
you're pouring in new creative things to mold you. And it's funny, some of my closest friends lately go, "Lynn, are you okay?" I'm like, "Good." And it's just I'm more reserved. It's because I'm an introvert and I lean on to that for creativity, to have that soulless time to do that. And question at the hotel today was, "Tell us something we don't know about you." And I'm like, "Introvert." They're like, "What?" I'm like, "Why do you think I can only work here 2 days?"
Hmm.
But you got to know your limits, is what I'm saying. You've got to know what you're able to do. But I do get out of my comfort zone more than and I'm intending finally, you've heard me for 2 years, but finally I'm taking the step of getting out of my comfort zone to a max of I'm blowing my own mind with the ideas that I'm getting that are going to come in fruition here soon and say, what the heck? Because I need to do it. I need to not just have those thoughts in my mind, but allow them to have fruition and to see that it's going to enrich my life.
Well,
So,
you're either at the source of your own life or it's in vice versa order,
mhm,
and you get to choose. Because here's the thing: the minute that you wake up, you either there are very few things that we have control of in our life: our attitude, our actions, our behavior. That's it. That's it.
mhm,
And so, with that, that turns into an enormous opportunity on a daily basis for discipline, for
right,
consistency, for fulfillment. But you have to take those reins because you're not going to get any agreement out in the world for it. It's never going to come to you. And but I tell you this is that if you can overcome the disciplinary part of that becoming habit, whatever that is, up to 66 days is what medical professionals say. If you can do that, the compound effect, as Darren Hardy talks about it, is going to come into play, right? But here's the thing: and to anybody that is up to big things and really helping people and really making a difference in the world, you give everything you have to other people, but eventually your tank is going to run dry.
right.
And once your tank runs dry, where do you go to have that fulfilled? Because I guarantee once it's empty, it's kind of like being very exhausted.
Right.
The amount of sleep you need is not going to be 12 hours. It's going
Yeah.
to be over a series of days because then you're going to want to keep going because you're driven, you're relentless. You know that every minute that you don't do something for the world is a lost minute that it could be over with in a short period of time, you know? And so you have to be at the source of it. Otherwise, life, you are just there, a part of life. You get to
Yeah.
choose though.
And that's the thing. We forget that we're a spirit in a body. You know, we're more than just our bodies, and not to allow our thoughts to come to fruition in this body is a shame. And I've realized that lately for myself, you know, and I'm putting myself out there by saying this, but this month I will be joining Planet Fitness and plan to hit every fitness I can along my trip.
Yeah.
And it was the feeling and wanting and the need and the missing of being in a gym. Now I might not be able to do the shit I did before, but who says I can't walk in there and do what I can? Who says? Me. It's our world. We should not just live in our heads, but we should live it out in the physical world.
Well,
That's what we came here for,
Well, our
you know?
by how we've been molded as people in the world, right? So how our society has programmed us, right?
Mhm.
And I don't want to get in the weeds about this. That is what it's kind of like going in to somebody that's never been to an improv show or ever studied improv or ever been to a class. The minute that you go through that door, there's no judgments, assessments, any of that. It's a
Right.
free place to be. And what I'm getting at with that mindset and with that visual is the same thing as you would approach writing down notes in a journal,
Mhm.
having a book of ideas, right? Look at how many famous people had books upon books upon books, or they had songs that they wrote like Prince,
Mhm.
you know, where their life ended early, but they had volumes of stuff that never reached the public.
Exactly.
Is because they were so smart and intuitive. But here's the thing: one of the most fulfilling parts about having thinking time is there is no judgments, there is no assessments about what the world thinks about it. And here's the thing: an idea that you do not manifest and bring to the surface is pretty much a waste. And it's not a matter of you bringing it to the surface or it becomes to fruition because just, you know, I'm a big Apple fan, right? How many patents do they file every year that are never going to, or models or beta test products that they never come up with? Because it's not the point.
Right.
It's that
But
they're
they're
not
doing.
it's not that they're afraid of bringing something forward, but they're not afraid of innovation. They're not
Right.
afraid of stretching the laws of what's possible. And that's the beautiful part about writing it on paper. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to turn into anything, but
Right.
it's just like interacting with a group of mastermind people. You go in with an idea, you don't know where it's going to go, but you know you're in the right community and the right group of people. And so the biggest thing with thinking time is that you're not putting judgments, assessments, laws, rules, any of that burden on yourself, that it's like, it's just a free place to be.
Which Brian, doesn't that remind you? That's how we were when we were little.
Correct. Being a sponge, you know. I mean, I remember my mentor, Jeffrey Gittimer, when his daughter, his youngest daughter, I can't remember her name, because she's now, I think she's like 13 or 15, is
Yeah.
when she was a kid, she would actually paint herself. He would give her all these paints and she would just paint herself, because she wasn't programmed by society of like, you don't do that, or you're going to look weird or goofy or whatever, right? She was just having fun because she didn't have that filter to look at life.
Right.
You know? And so thinking time, you need to ground yourself in terms of what's important to you, but without the measurements of when I'm going to get there, how fast is it going to take, you know, all of that. But then no matter what you're dealing with in life and who you have to serve and how much you're giving of yourself to other people, you know that you're fulfilled because you took that time in the daytime or at night, whatever it is, that it's like, okay, at least I invested in myself first versus giving everything I have, and then I have no effort or energy for myself.
You know, I think would help some people with this, at least I know it has helped me to have this, is like Eckhart Tolle, like, or anybody, this shows you to learn to evaluate yourself, like see yourself from a bird's eye view. And even if you take and say, you know what, I'm going to write down whatever the goofy crap I want to put, like you said, with no judgment. But the things that we ask or wonder or have thought of, they're really within us. We just haven't allowed them to come to fruition, to try or to be. And so I encourage everybody to watch your behavior. Like, you're the best one that can watch yourself and say, why did I do that with my right hand or my left hand or this or that? I mean, like, there's just so many cues that we can go and not be judgment, not be in a space of why do we do that, but there might be a reason why we're doing this. And it helps with with the neurons and stuff in your body. If you start, if you're right-handed, use your left-handed more, and you can connect with the other side of your brain. It's just, all those things really make a difference for you to have such a joyful life. I mean, when you allow yourself to like create and be and think of the things that are not possible, they are possible, but you're putting the top on your own cage. You're not allowing yourself to fly out and be free. You're capping what your capabilities of realizing your power.
Well, and just look at this question for any of our viewers. Okay, ask yourself this question out loud. The question right here, thinking time. How much do you allocate daily? What's the first thing you say after that? Is it a reason why you don't do it? Is it an excuse? What is it?
Or maybe you never thought of it.
Correct. But
You never
the
thought
thing
that
about it is that if you come up with an excuse or something other than like, here's what I can allow, you're putting the external forces before the actual commitment.
Right. If you are entitled to have this space wherever. I mean, like you said, you got a break at work for a half an hour.
Yep.
Eat your food and sit there for 15 minutes and let your mind go to, what if I wasn't here? What else would I like to do? What I mean,
go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, it is a fun game. It's a really fun mental exercise than to keep thinking about what's stressing you.
Well, it's the same thing as an idea. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
If you write down an idea from the point of being open, and I don't know where this is going to lead me, I don't really care, but I want to have this documented. Versus if you write down an idea and your brain is going, wow, who's going to like this? This sucks, whatever. You're ready, because you're looking at it from a viewpoint of not only from not being free and fulfilling, but also from a standpoint of maybe who's not going to like this, or is anybody going to care? You're doing it for reasons other than the way it should, because who cares about what anybody thinks about it? It's kind of like if you put posts out there that try to help people and inspire them, right? We're all, as human beings, like Harvey McKay says, we're our greatest improvement.
Right.
We're going to be the single greatest project we're ever going to work on. Okay. But the minute before you press post on a social media channel, like a piece of inspiration or something that you learned or you want to share, if you're questioning about who's going to, if you're doing it based on likes, if you're doing it based on who's going to like it, who's going to comment, who's not going to like it, you're doing it for the wrong reasons.
Right.
You're doing it for the wrong reasons because you're allowing all of that external noise instead of saying, I want to be a contribution to the world. I want to help people. I'm a work in progress, and here's how I can contribute.
You know, the world needs more of what I plan to do and what I'm doing, and that's documentation. You know, document yourself, observe yourself, know yourself. And that's a documentation that, you know, even on Facebook a year later shows you a video you did.
Right.
I mean, like a documentation. Most documentaries would be great if they were actually documented at the times they were going. And then when they were putting things together, they could say, you know, I don't know how this is going to start. I don't know what we're going to do, but I'm going to still do it and just travel that. And there's a benefit because when you've achieved something, and I've done a few times, I've lost a lot of weight a few times.
Yep.
It's the, how'd you do it? Well, you know, and I take pictures of my food, blah, 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 or my activities, what I'm doing, blah, blah, blah. But the point is like, sometimes you forget what you did to get where you are.
Right.
But if you have a documentation or a point of reference, that validates where you started and where you're ending. And where, you know, and it helps people to see that in a timeline, you know, just like this little time lapse, you know, before your events, you know, a plain canvas, and all of a sudden it's all going. But if you hadn't done that, somebody said, well, what did you start with? Well, if only you knew what I started with. It's hard to recreate after if you're not journaling it during.
Yeah.
And I know we got to get going here. So
a point of view. Everybody has a point of view. Everybody has their background. But when you mute your point of view, you mute your voice.
Yeah.
And everybody has one, right? Now, here's the thing. When it comes to video and putting your thoughts out there, the only way you're going to put your message out there is if you give up the fact that anybody's going to like your point of view. You have a point of view, but what mutes people is that they're trying to win people over. Who's going to like this? Who's not going to like it? And then they get caught up in that cycle. And then something that could help somebody is never put out in the world.
Yeah.
But if you give up the fact that, hey, I have a certain point of view, it's not for everybody, but I'm still going to share it anyways, but I'm not going to, you know, people are choosing for themselves whether they like my point of view or not. I'm not trying to insult them or, you know, whatever. I'm just putting out a point of view and a view, but also though I'm not asking for you to like it.
Right. And you know, what's funny is most things live out, you live out, or they live out of you, you know. Correct. They last forever, like our videos, right? This will forever last. I mean, this might not hit 1,000 views until both of us are gone. Yeah. But we did it. We did it and we left it.
Well, and here's the thing, to anybody that is selfless, to anybody that is aspiring to help people and just make a difference in the world, it's the amount of people that it could have helped them versus like views and likes and all of that, which I mean is totally countercultural to the generations of today.
Right.
You know, there's a couple documentaries out there where younger kids and, you know, the younger generations, the only way that they evaluate popularity or success is based on the quantitative data.
Right.
And it's unfortunate because what if the message was garbage?
Right.
But, you know, but it's like,
or it was not. It was not viewed by the right people yet. You know, it just didn't circulate to the right people. Well, we've run out of time.
Yeah.
And so any final words before we leave?
No, I commit to a thinking time, right? Okay. Do it for you. Take the time for you. If you don't, you lose it. Mm-hmm. And it's like over the course of time, how do you know what you can create or the difference you can make in the world if you do not allow that time just for yourself? How about you?
Yeah, I say stop thinking the wrong things and create some new things in your mind that make you happy and joy. And start there. Just say, okay, I'm going to just, you know, think of some great stuff. And this has been a great topic because it's made me think more how I need to definitely maybe even find an afternoon time for thinking too. I love you, Brian.
Love you too, Lynn.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks, everyone.
Yep.
See you next week.